Hi everyone and welcome to another Next Talks. Today with Bartek Bednarz, the Executive Vice President from Ipsen, with whom we prepared some interesting conversation. So first question, Bartek, to you is, how are you?
I am very well, Dario. Thank you very much. I'm pretty amazing here today because I am among people. We finally are back to the offices, which makes me very happy.
Yeah, fully agree with that interesting conversation with other people and the opportunities, right? So let's start with the first question which we prepared for you today, which is, so who is Bartek as a leader, and can you describe yourself actually as a leader?
Thank you for that question. It's not a light one, I must say, simply because it's always a little bit awkward to speak about your whole sort of leadership style. But if I were to reflect on this, I think there's probably three key words that I would use. The first one is the purpose. I think I'm very purpose driven. I need an inspired objective to lead. That's the first. The second is people. So, leadership is all about setting your people for success. Doesn't matter how you try. If you want to have a large impact, you need other people with you. You need them enrolled, and you need them around you. So that's the second. And the third, I think it's the impact. And then so being genuinely connected to what is the impact you're driving, being able to measure that and really look in the mirror and say, I am making an impact, is something that is super important to me.
Thanks a lot. Very impressive answer. Next question, which moment in your professional career shaped your leadership style?
Thanks. Many moments. I don't think I had one event in particular that would be sort of a life-changing or professional life-changing or enlightenment. I think it's a journey. And, I like to say that just being focused on growing and becoming 1% better every day is probably my mantra. Now, I must admit that the moments where I had the greatest reflection and the longest pauses were normally the moments where there's some kind of pain, some kind of pressure. Normally growth comes with pain, comes from pain. You might be out of your comfort zone, and therefore you need to really reflect, who do you need to be as a leader to be effective in such circumstances. We all have our preferred way of being, but then as a leader, you do have to be much more contextual. You have to understand the context. It's often decisive in being in effective leadership. So, it's been a long journey for me with plenty of moments, and each one of them has been contributing to who I am today.
Thank you. Next question, and maybe the most toughest one, which is, did family, and in particular your children, change your leadership style in some way?
Well, it's not a light question. There's interesting you're asking about children, because there are some subject matter experts that compare leadership to parenting. In a sense that, if you're a parent, you will always have the best of your child in mind, and therefore, you have to be relentless in coaching, supporting. You cannot take offense from your child. It's not an option, and therefore you really flex yourself as to, how to get the best out of the person, how to make them bigger every day. And interestingly, so for me, that's I see the parallels. Have they changed who I am as a leader? I think they definitely contributed to it. I'm very proud of my boys, but like I said, it's to me, it's a broader context. It's a long journey with a lot of contributing factors. But I often like to think about my team members as the ones that I would like to grow every day and get them bigger. And if I have a conversation with them anywhere, including the hallway, which might sometimes include some constructive feedback, I really would like them to be bigger after that conversation.
Thank you, Bartek. Next question. Knowing you really makes me believe that pharma can live patient centricity. However, how to implement such thinking across the entire organization? Where's the challenge? Where's the difficulty?
Oh, thank you. I think that patient centricity comes back to the fact that I like to have a purpose. And obviously, we are operating in the healthcare ecosystem. We partner with HCPs, with payers, with governments, with regulatory authorities. And I must say, we all try to make this world bigger for people, for patients. Now, there's plenty of opportunities in an organization like pharmaceuticals to be patient-centric. You can be patient-centric in the space of research and development, where you really try to understand what matters to patients at the point when you design your clinical development program, when you even design a molecule on what is your target value profile or target product profile, as we like to call it sometimes. Where I sit in the commercialization department, I lead global product and strategy for Ipsen. What the way I can implement this broadly is through something that we do every day, which is really gathering a lot of insights, trying to understand the patient journey with all of the details, with how they feel about various different points of that journey. Make sure that that conversation doesn't take place only during the brand plan, that this conversation is part of everyday conversation, right? And being in global, I'm perfectly aware that it is oftentimes us who set the tone for those conversations with the rest of the organization, with the rest of the operating units. So you just make it authentic. If you put it into your business conversations every day, and if you live up to that promise, you don't have to think about it anymore, because it becomes your purpose. And therefore, if your plans do have integrity, you will follow that thread all the way to executions and metrics. So it's the conversations within the company, it's the conversations outside the company with all of the key stakeholders, obviously with patients in the right way. But I can't point anything more than what I just said to you, which is really authenticity of conversations in the organization.
Thank you, Bartek. Very interesting answer. I really like your 1% better sentence. I think this is really very purposeful. However, during execution of strategic goals, what mantra or steps do you follow to encourage people to follow that same strategy?
Yeah. Well, what is the mantra? I think I oftentimes speak about the integrity of the plans. What that fundamentally means is, what is the problem you're solving? How this is connected with your activity plan and execution, how this is connecting with what I just spoke about with you a minute ago, which is how does it help patients, how does it help other stakeholders. So I would say, it's integrity of the plan all the way to execution, which you can also call authenticity. That's my first one. The second one is focus. So, I am a big fan of trying to focus on the things that truly move the needle, instead of trying to do too many things and being busy. It's just the nature of us, of human beings, trying to do a lot, but not always we can be effective across all of the different aspects. So I like to focus the organization on what really matters. And the third is discipline. Discipline for searching for the impact, discipline for really understanding what are we learning from a particular situation, whether we're effective or not effective. I think really closing the loop, reflecting, putting this back into sort of how we move forward or as an organization is massively important too.
Thank you, Bartek. Let's move forward to the favorite part of everyone, which is the quick fire question. And since you're coming originally from Poland, describe Poland in one single word.
It's home.
Simple and nice one. Next question. Do you miss dental medicine?
I don't, honestly. I think this is not a coincidence that I am not in this profession. It was, I quickly found out that I was looking for a slightly greater impact in my life, and therefore I sometimes think about it, how my life would look like, but I certainly do not miss it.
Thank you. During the pandemic, I started to appreciate which thing?
I think it's really human connections. That's what I missed the most, and therefore I felt it was really lacking. And so being back with people, with social support, with my colleagues at work has made a massive difference right now after we come out from that pandemic.
Thank you very much. And this is how actually creativity works, right? Your dream job is?
My dream job. You know, I had for many years I thought about the dream job. I think I no longer think this way. I think my dream is who I ideally become as a leader and as a person. And so my dream is to be my best that I can be for the impact for others. And this could be realized in various different jobs. We happen to be in pharmaceutical industry, and I'm very grateful for where I am today, as I can impact so much. But it's really about who I become versus my dream job.
Very impressive. Thank you. And the last quick fire question, most impressive city which you visited in last 5 years, excluding last 2 years, because of course you didn't visit almost anything, I guess.
Yeah, I must say I enjoy diversity a lot. It's very difficult for me to point at one single place where was left the greatest impression, but maybe one that I truly enjoyed because it took me by surprise was Tokyo in Japan.
Okay.
And the reason for that is it's massive, but it's also very nicely organized. There is a lot of respect between between the people there, even though it is crowded. It's very clean, it's very respectful. There is a nice pace of life in it, and I really was impressed with this city.
Thank you very much. It's definitely on my bucket list. Never have been, but again, hopefully one day after we finish out of the pandemic, right? So Bartek,
Indeed.
thank you very much for this very pleasant conversation. Hopefully, of course, to see you next year live in your new favorite city, Dubrovnik. And take very good care.
Looking forward to be back in Dubrovnik and take off for some sailing from there. So, look, thank you so much for this conversation. I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bartek. Take care.